stretch is called a frog stretch. So just go very, very careful with this exercise. We're just stepping our knees out a little, and you might like some more padding underneath your knees, and then returning your feet out. So it's a bit of a hip opening exercise. So a lot of times we become really tight in our hips, and what that means is that we sit on top of the horse rather than over the horse, because we really can't open our hips to sit over the horse. So this is a little stretch that can help you sit over the horse. So we're just opening our knees out, opening our hips out, and the aim is that we have a straight line from our knee down to our ankle, and the inside of your feet are down flat. Now it can take a little bit of time to achieve this, so take your time to move into it. Now if you are here and you're looking for a little bit more, we can actually come down onto our elbows. And the aim here is you're just lowering your chest as close as you can to the ground. And you're just here and breathing in. You can actually just do some little tiny hip circles. So very small, moving your hips around in one direction, and then very small, moving your hips around in the other direction. So taking a breath and allowing your inner thigh muscles just to soften. This is a great stretch to do regularly as well, just to start opening up your hips. Now to get out of this position, we're coming up onto our hands and knees. Coming up onto our hands, shift your weight forward onto your hands so you can bring your toes in. And then shift your weight back onto your toes so you can bring your knees in. And that's how we get out of that exercise. Okay, so coming back up, if you have a ball, take a seat on your fit ball. Some of my favourite exercises are with our pelvic exercises. So take a seat on the ball. If you don't have a ball, take a seat on your chair. So what we're looking for first is that we have a straight line from our hips through to our knees, and then a straight line from our knees down to our ankles. Sitting up nice and tall, you can pick up your reins. Elbows are hanging by your side and really have that chest nice and open. Alright, so you can either stay here and hold your reins, or you can put your hands on your hips if you'd like, just a little bit more of that body awareness. And then from our hips, we're actually rocking our hips forwards and rocking our hips forwards and backwards. So moving forwards and backwards with your pelvis. And you can do that with holding your reins as well. What we're looking for as we do this, our body stays tall. We don't want to collapse and slump into it. So body's nice and tall. Just moving those hips forwards and back, forwards and back. And as you do this, really try to soften your glutes, so soften your butt muscles. Really think more about your core, pulling your hips forward rather than using your butt muscles. And seeing if you can feel your seat bones centered into the ball. Lovely. Okay, so now as we do this, we're tilting our pelvis all the way forwards, tilt your pelvis all the way backwards, and then come so you feel like your pelvis is even. So it's neither forwards nor backwards, it's actually halfway in the middle. And when you're there, you should be able to feel your seat bones going directly down. So see if you can feel that. Fantastic. Sitting up nice and tall while you're there, just opening your chest, just checking. Alright, so now that we're here with a neutral pelvis, let's do some circles with our pelvis. So shoulders stay still, waist stay still, and think about using your hips like a little tiny hula hoop. And try and do a very, very little circle with keeping everything else still. A very, very little circle. And see how smoothly you can do that circle. Quite often when we begin, it's not very smooth. But see how smoothly you can make that, controlling that circle all the way around. And then go back the other way. And see if there's a difference between the two circles. You can hold your reins. Smooth moves all the way around. And coming back to the center. See if you can lift one hip towards your ribs without lifting your shoulders. So one hip up and down, and the other hip up and down. Smooth moves with the hips one side And then the other side. What we don't want to do is lift a shoulder or collapse through. So we're trying to keep this nice and still and just work on isolating our pelvis. Lovely. All right, coming back to the center.